What's going on, everyone? Talen here, and welcome to another uniform review video. Alright, so we have some new uniforms to take a look at here. We've got the Defenders uniforms. Let's go ahead and take a look at the first one on the list here, and that is Daredevil. So we have Daredevil, Fall from Grace. Let's go ahead and see what the uniform effects are going to be. We have changed the effects of skill Radar Sense, which is his 4-star passive. Activation rate when dodging, we get a 30% max HP heal on a 9-second cooldown. So that's actually pretty nice. So as long as he dodges something, which you probably have a good chance of that if you put a little bit of dodge on him. Don't remember if he has any passive. Does he have passive dodge? Oh wow, 70% ignore dodge now on his passive. So that's really, really strong. So he shouldn't really be missing much at all. So the enemy shouldn't really be dodging. So that's good. And he does have his tier 3. So I can see this maybe being useful against Null, because dodge seems to be pretty valuable against Null for a lot of characters. Not all of them, but for a lot of characters, if you throw in like dodge ignore strikers or dodge ignore leadership, you notice that your time is very similar or better than just using like a full damage team and, you know, going full leadership and full damage strikers. So that means that dodge does have a pretty big factor against Null. So Daredevil might be good against Null, is just an asterisk there. I don't know if he's actually going to be good against him or not, because I haven't seen any gameplay of him against Null. But yeah, that passive there could make a difference. First skill doesn't have much going on. Second skill, not much. Third skill, let's see, we have another counterattack skill. So counterattack, and it can attack enemies that are in iframe. So we have quite a few of these skills now. They always seem to be on the third skill, and we know these are very powerful for PvP. So that means he might be pretty good in PvP. It's on an 18-second cooldown, so it's not terrible. Some of these ignore iframe skills like Ghost Riders is on like a 30-second cooldown, so it's definitely better than that. We have Paralysis that ignores immunity for 2 seconds. We got Fracture, we got a Stun. We have a 50% chance to penetrate everything. It's only 50% chance, so a little bit of RNG there if the enemy has invincibility up on their iframe skill or something like that. 100% chance to be immune to damage for 3 seconds. 3 seconds doesn't seem long enough. We have increased damage by 80% for 1 attack. And if I remember correctly, I think that 80% only activates at the very end of the skill, or if you actually initiate the counter attack. So you can't just cancel the third skill and pass over that 80% buff to the next skill that you're using. We've got damage accumulation here. It is damage dealt. It is a 100% damage boost there, 100% all attacks. So that's pretty nice. Fourth skill, we have all defense down. It does stack up to minus 60%, which is good, but we really need to get to minus 65% for him to be able to push really high in World Boss Ultimate. This doesn't really affect your ability against Null, because you can't apply all defense down to Null, so it's not going to make a difference there. We have 5 seconds of invincibility, so that's good. That'll help with the survivability. We have all attack, all defense, 35%, 10% all speed, crit rate by 35%. So a lot of stuff going on here for the fourth skill. The fifth skill, we also have some more all defense down, minus 60%. So if you didn't stack enough of it up with the fourth skill, then you can actually, what? Fourth skill, minus 60% all defense down stacks up to minus 60. So you literally need 1 hit from the fourth skill and you get up to the max all defense down. That's pretty crazy, actually. I wonder if he uses the fourth skill while striking, because maybe you can do something weird there. Some interaction to max out your all defense down. I don't know. Anything else on this skill? We have incapacitation, 10 seconds of fracture. That's pretty long. All right, so let's hop into the skill preview here and see what his new skills actually look like. Oh, and he is still a speed type, so didn't change his typing. So that's also something important to note here. First skill. Just swings around a little bit there, hitting them with the stun batons. Got an iframe in like the middle of the skill, so not very useful. Second skill, again, he has an iframe in the middle of the skill, so not super useful. Third skill, so this is counterattack skill. So as you can see, he had to wait for that attack there for that. I couldn't click on it in time. But you can see all those buffs at the top, and then as soon as he does that, boom, you get the increased for your next attack. So you have to wait for the actual counterattack, or for him to initiate the attack on the third skill. So you can't just cancel it and transfer the buff, but you can, of course, get your accumulation and whatever the other buffs were with the skill. I think there was an all attack buff or something else. You can, or the immunity, I mean. You can get all of those just by instant canceling it, so you can do that. Fourth skill, it starts with an iframe, then we lose the iframe, and then we gain the iframe. Did this one have the invincibility on it? Yeah, this one had the 5 seconds of invincibility, so that should be fine. You should be okay using the skill, but you are going to be vulnerable here, so that might get Daredevil in a little bit of trouble. Alright, so 5th skill. Okay, we got a full iframe. Well, not a full iframe. There were still more hits after that, so take the staff, hit them a few times. As soon as he hits the ground with the staff, you are now out of iframe, so that's a little annoying. What does fracture? So that has no protection. What hit on the 4th skill triggers the... Okay, so it triggers immediately the all defense down. So I guess if you want to proc on the 5th skill and transfer your invincibility, you can just boom, get the first hit, and then go into the 5th skill. But the 5th skill gives all defense down anyway, so it might be better to do 3 and 5. Get the few seconds. Now the damage immunity is going to be gone by the time you get out of the iframe in the 5th skill, because iframe, you lose it in the middle of the skill. That's very weird. I don't know why they have it that way. They should maybe have it so you have no iframe at the start and then you go into the iframe. That way you can at least take advantage of the damage immunity in the 3rd skill. So you're not going to be protected pretty much at all during the 5th skill. I'm not sure how I feel about that. It makes his 5th skill almost useless unless you have the enemy stunned, locked down, or something like that. And then also his tier 3. So when we use the tier 3, we have the iframe here, but look how long it takes to start getting hits going on. I feel like the tier 3 is just too long, that you're not going to have your... If you have a damage proc, it's going to wear off by the time you get to the end of the skill. If you have an activation like Rage, it's going to wear off again by the time you get to the end of the skill. So you're going to be missing out on quite a bit of damage from his tier 3 skill just because it's a little bit too long in the skill animation. Because let me see here. If we go ahead and build up our tier 3 again. That has nothing to do with the uniform. The uniform is just going to be 1 through 5 if you're not going to get him to tier 3. So don't have to worry too much about his tier 3 skill. If you just want to get the uniform to make him useful in Shadowland, then definitely go for that. But besides that, I don't really see Daredevil being that great. I mean, that's just my initial thoughts. I mean, he could definitely still be a very strong character. He just doesn't seem very good to me from what I'm seeing here. So let's get some buffs from the 3rd skill. Go in there. So we have 10 seconds. So right here, so right when he starts doing that, your obelisk or your activation is going to wear off. Yeah, I don't like that design. So you're missing out on a ton of damage unless you activate the tier 3, and then you don't proc or activate your obelisk until he starts doing those hits in the tier 3. Oh yeah, what does the counterattack look like? We haven't really seen that. It goes into an iframe, does some extra hits there. Okay, not bad. Yeah, so you're going to want to use the tier 3 so that it doesn't proc here. You don't want it to proc, don't want it to proc. And now you want it to proc while he's doing this to get the most damage out of it, probably, because that looks like the hardest hitting. And then you get some extra hits right there that you would like to take advantage of. So overall, I'm not sure that I like Daredevil's design here. I could be a little bit biased because I'm actually not really a Daredevil fan either. I don't really like Daredevil in the movies or comics, so I don't really have a good affinity towards Daredevil, so that could maybe be playing a part here as well. But I don't know. I just don't see this uniform really helping him out that much. Sure, it gives him more damage, but his survivability looks pretty bad. It looks like the proc is going to be really, really off. Your activation, you can't really, if you have Rage, you can't really take full advantage of it because of the skills. Durations, but yeah. 19-second cooldown. Yeah, the cooldowns are pretty bad as well. 18 seconds. Only the 1st and 2nd skill. Everything else has bad cooldowns. So overall, I mean, I'm not a big fan of this uniform, but considering what he has to work with here, this is definitely by far going to be the best option to make Daredevil good. But my initial thoughts is he's not going to be a very strong character in the current roster or the current characters that we have available to us. I might be wrong as more people tier 3 him, more people love up the uniform, there's more testing coming out, because again, this is just my initial impressions. I haven't seen anyone else use the uniform. I'm just giving you my thoughts on the character based off of how long I've been playing this game and just reading the effects of the skills and seeing the skills in the skill preview. I can usually get a pretty good idea of how the character is going to perform. So I'm actually going to be skipping this uniform. But again, let me know if the uniform turns out to be better than I'm thinking. Write it and put in the comments below if you pick up the uniform, if it's working well for you. But that's going to be my initial thoughts. Hopefully you enjoyed nonetheless, and I will catch you in the next one.